Oh, and another! Shit! Striker!
Hello and welcome into this Monday's edition of Entertainment News here at MBE. We'd just like to thank you once again for joining us here on our YouTube channel and of course our Twitch stream. I'm one of your co-hosts, Stephen John McLaughlin, our other co-host, John C. Walsh. How you doing, John?
I'm doing great, Stephen.
That's your head.
I'm just trying to talk with my heart. Like Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
I'm doing great. Right, that's enough of that. No more.
Yes, John, this is our technically our second show of the week, if you count Sunday as the start of the week.
Well,
like some people do.
I was going to
like
show
some
you.
people do.
It's actually going to show you a little logo I've created for tier list. Get your thoughts on it live on air. What do you think of that, Steve?
Yeah,
It's
like
different,
that.
isn't it?
Yeah, I like that.
So the actual tier list.
That is good, yeah.
The tier list itself.
It came from the brain of Mr. C. Walsh. There you are.
I made that shot though.
Yeah, you will see that next Sunday, folks, if you tune in to our tier list show that we do every Sunday live round about 9 o'clock.
Just try to work out how I can animate that and make that an animation. But
that is good though.
It
almost looks like the font, The Godfather. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
But
clean.
We're not talking about The
Clean.
Godfather tonight. We're talking about Star Wars, John. For a change, it's been a while. It's been a while since we talked about Star Wars. When you think about it, we used to have a show called the Force Friday Show at the height of the sequel trilogy, John. And
yes.
It just burst into flames then. Just like the sequel trilogy.
It was exciting times, Stephen. 2015, 2016, 2017. I'll go as far as saying 2018, 2019, up until round about Last Jedi. Very exciting times. Rogue One, wondrous Star Wars
John,
movie.
We did have one exciting moment one night with the Mandalorian trailer. We had a big crowd in.
3,500 people waiting to see us.
Yeah.
And then I took an absolute pounding as I was walking my dog because I couldn't watch it. This was a pre-recorded, premiered video.
Yeah.
I was out walking my dog. Stephen informed me, John, are you aware of just how many people are waiting? They were all French.
Yeah, I was like, what have you done, John? What have you done?
I've clickbaited it.
Was it the thumbnail? Was it the headline? Was
it
both?
Something to do with the trailer.
We never do that.
Premiere
as well.
or something, and they were waiting on the
maybe
trailer.
There's something in that. Maybe there's something in that we should maybe be following.
I couldn't watch it.
But
I was getting assaulted verbally.
It was car crash TV. It really was.
Why is this guy holding a folder?
I
it's
think
a fucking iPad.
I think a lot of people thought it was an exclusive, and they thought that we were on a red carpet somewhere. We're on a carpet, but it's not a red
one. It was Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah,
so I thought we were in fucking San Diego. Well, we're in Glasgow.
What a disappointment.
Or Anaheim.
When we came on there. But John, we're talking about Daisy Ridley tonight, and we're talking about, she's saying that she won't rule out a Star Wars
topic, sorry.
We're not talking about it yet. Yeah, she's saying she won't rule out a Star Wars franchise return. Daisy Ridley says
I fucking go, Daisy.
ruling out a potential Star Wars franchise return, confirming she is open to talks with Lucasfilm to come back. Just going to keep this brief, John, because the actual quote is very, very brief. The Rey actor confirmed she would be open for the possibility of returning to a galaxy far, far away, jokingly stating she is looking for employment while also being willing to have discussions with Lucasfilm. Is that joking as well? Don't know. This is what she said. I mean, I'm open to a phone call. I'm looking for employment.
The end. Exclamation mark.
Yeah. And this is the story from...
I mean, I'm open to a phone call. I'm looking for employment.
Screenrant.com. John,
where could Rey return in Star Wars? Fucking nowhere.
Yeah, well, the thing is...
It's the last time I'll swear tonight.
I think we had... I think we've said everything we've had to say in terms of the sequel trilogy, and I don't think Daisy Ridley was the problem in it. I think the writing was the problem for the character, and for probably most of the characters, actually.
Facial expression now.
But I honestly don't know where they could take it, because the Skywalker saga will end. That was the promotion, wasn't it? So,
yes.
And she proclaimed herself as a Skywalker at the end of that film. So where do you go with that? I mean, it was one of the things I didn't really want them to do with Luke at the end of Return of the Jedi, was take him off in his own thing. If it wasn't more saga
they did do
style
that, didn't they? They
stuff.
did that with the Timothy Zahn books.
Yeah.
They did that with Star Wars Galaxies.
Yeah. I just
the
think
online game.
Some of these characters work better when they're in their familiar surroundings, because I've seen Luke in The Mandalorian, technically, and it doesn't have the same feel. I know it's obviously not the same, it's not a real person, but what I mean is the actual character itself is out of the sort of formula that we're used to. I don't know where they would take this character, John, to be honest with you. I don't know what mileage this character has got. Off in new adventures as a Jedi, setting up a Jedi temple. I mean, it's just regurgitating the same old stuff, isn't it?
It's just how do you do the villain effectively?
Yeah,
because unless obviously that was the big issue with the expanded universe. Started off pretty well. We had the likes of Grand Admiral Thrawn, we had Mara Jade introduced. Luke was young, vibrant, ready to take on the world, still learning bit by bit. And then things started to slip into a very slippery slope, into a dark precipice, so bad that we had Lando Calrissian consoling Luke on a rooftop in Coruscant and offering him milk chocolate to aid his insomnia. That's how bad and dark the expanded universe truly got, and I was there. I lived it all. I read a lot of books.
You can't unread that.
You can't unread that. It did get good again though, Stephen, when he started having kids, and it was a new generation of Jedi taking on a new generation of dark side users, Force users. But at the moment, with this universe, I am getting vibrations on my watch. It's telling me I have 10% left.
What's
I don't know how.
Of life?
Yes, I think so. I think it's incredible how you have it for just that right amount of time and then it starts dying. Apple know what they're doing, those conniving, dick topping without mask wearing, Cupertino, CUNTs. Sods, I'm trying not to swear. Yeah, but Stephen, the juncture we're at with Rey is that she is walking off into the sunset, Tatooine. Who are you? I'm Rey Skywalker. There isn't really any dark side Force users that I'm aware of. Palpatine's been banished into the void.
But somehow he survived again.
Who's going to be the villain? I mean, I suppose there's always, the Force is always there. There will always be Force users.
What if they made the Rey character almost like an Arthur Fleck, though? A bit of a Jekyll and Hyde, where she's got both.
Who's the good? Who's the good Force user?
Yeah. You know, a bit like Venom, you know, a bit like that. She's her own downfall.
I suppose we had Broom Kid, didn't we, at the end of Last Jedi? That was Ryan hinting that there was a new era inspired by Luke's sort of journey, by his mysticism, his adventures, and they could maybe rise up in this galaxy, and then you've got the good and the bad again. But right now, I don't know who would play the villain in this. If it is Rey, who's playing the protagonist? Then you're sillying the whole Skywalker saga, because this so-called ultimate good, untarnishable character akin to Luke Skywalker, Rey, can't be turned to the dark side. She's now been turned to the dark side, so you've just ruined that whole thing again. It's already ruined for me. It's expensive fan fiction, but you've ruined it again at that point.
Oh, you've ruined it.
Bring him to me, and I'll kill him again. Something like that, wasn't it? That was Auf Wiedersehen, wasn't it?
John, my first impressions of Daisy Ridley was probably going back to maybe about 2014 when Mark Hamill was doing some interviews and stuff like that. And I think it was after they were confirmed they were coming back. We didn't know the plot as of yet at this point, but he was holding Daisy Ridley in high regard in terms of how surprised at how good an actor she was for someone who's not obviously done a lot of film work. I think she'd done some, I don't know what it was actually. Was it some kind of under the radar type production thing? I'm not really sure. But
Sin, we're not doing the list. I forgot to select the fucking right live thing. Thank God you says that, Sin.
Yeah.
Thank God you said that.
Yeah, we did the list yesterday.
I've just not selected it.
Yeah, I saw that come up, John. I was like, what does Sin mean? What does Sin mean? I'm doing the Donald Sutherland from Attack of the Body Snatchers. Thanks, Sin.
Oh,
thanks.
You saved us, Sin. Yeah. Jesus God, you saved us.
Yeah, why are you talking about Daisy Ridley? It's Arnie time.
I need to go and fucking change everything, and I've not got the taggings right on nothing.
I'll keep gibbering while you're doing that. But yeah, I mean, that was my first impressions of Daisy Ridley, and I thought that perhaps, you know, Mark Hamill knows a thing or two about the film business. I'm looking forward to her performance. Then I had concerns, John. J.J. Abrams went through her on day one for her acting, and she had to do a whole lot of scenes all over again, and that concerned me a lot. I thought, this doesn't look good. This does not look good at all.
Is that the wooden thing?
Yeah. But John, I could see where it's coming from. There was a few lines in there that just sounded really off to me in that first film.
Yes.
I'm not even talking about the Last Jedi stuff. You've got to come back with me.
Can happen here.
And then, what you doing here, Chewie? And he says that you're coming back. He fucking knows what he says. He's hung about with Chewie a lot longer than you, Hen. I hated that line, but again, that was down to poor writing. But a few times our execution was a little bit off, wasn't it?
It was. Stephen, we had this conversation before we came on. I'm just
typing furiously,
putting tags in.
It's like like Bruce Almighty. Yeah.
I says before we come on, I don't rate her as an actor at all. I think she's a nice person. She seems to be quite genuine, quite bubbly. I don't hate her at all.
No.
I just have a real disliking for her Mary Sue character. And look, you have to take this in context the way I'm saying this, because I was actually defending this character about 5 years ago on Twitter.
Yeah.
But that's the type of person I am. I'm quite argumentative. And I was deliberately...
Even when I know I'm wrong,
yes,
I'll tell you I'm right.
I was deliberately just winding people up. People were saying, oh, she's rushed, she's not had any training. I'm like, but Luke didn't have any training. He went to Dagobah and spent a week with some piss-stained version of Yoda who proceeded to disappear into his pillow, into nothingness. And then he was ready to go and face Darth Julius Vader on Bespin. I was like, he didn't have any training, so why are you going after Rey? And I think at that point I was right. Rey was in a similar sort of circumstance as Luke.
Sorry.
In a similar circumstance as Luke. Similar arc, but where it deviated for that character was after Last Jedi and then into that last movie. There was no real jeopardy. There was no real... I'm trying to think of the word. I'm furiously trying to think for the word in my head.
Stakes, yeah.
Yeah, there was no adversity.
Yeah.
She never came up against anything. She never lost a limb. She just breezed through that entire trilogy. So the character's really dislikable for me. It's not something that is connectable to anybody.
John,
Luke was a universal hero.
How many eye rolls did you do during the Rise of Skywalker? I lost count. That whole
eye rolls,
Wayfinder thing.
I was falling asleep. First time I seen that snake thing, the fact it bumped into Lando on this fucking planet.
Yeah.
It's like, what? What?
I said we wouldn't talk about the sequel trilogy, but you can't help it.
But you can't if you're speaking about Rey potentially coming back. I've asked the question in the thumbnail, will Lucasfilm greenlight a Rey movie? I think they will.
Yeah,
I think they will. I would not put it past them greenlighting another Rey Star Wars movie just to spite the fan base. The only way this could work, Stephen, is if you have some connectivity from the sequel trilogy, and that is reusing Rian Johnson. His trilogy, it's a Rey trilogy. I don't want to watch it. I've got no interest in it. But that's the only way it could possibly work.
Did you see the potential in the character John in The Force Awakens, though? At all?
The only... By the end, when probably.
You did sympathise with the character, didn't you?
Yeah, because she was on Jakku, she was this orphan. She was sitting, scavenging, eating these ridiculous rations. It was horrible, the experience she had. She gets off the planet, she's searching for her parents, existentialism. She sees her father figure in Han. Han gets killed, and then she comes up against his evil son, who's badly injured and just about gets out with her life. People were attacking the character after that as well. How did she defeat Kylo?
He was bleeding.
He gets shot by a crossbow that was heavily hinted throughout the whole movie. It was incredibly powerful.
I did love Chewie's moment there. I thought that was incredible.
Yeah, sequel to look, son, I'm the same. I says it's expensive fan fiction.
Yeah, the best bits were Chewie.
They were. The best bits were Chewie and Han.
Yeah.
And obviously John Boyega. I love John. I think he's a brilliant actor. I speak about him as if I'm friends with him. I don't know the guy, I have to stress.
Johnny Boy.
But Johnny Boy, I think he's a brilliant actor. He was done dirty in that trilogy. Yeah. And I says to you, if there's any character I'd like to see coming back and having a trilogy dedicated, or even a movie dedicated to it, it would be Finn.
Yeah.
Turning him into a Force user. Making sense of that character who was just used and abused from the second movie onwards.
Boyega's made it clear he's never come back.
No, he'll never come back.
I think it's soured his obviously experience, which is a shame. John, how excited was that fella during the Force Awakens promotion?
Star Wars fan.
Me and my friend Harrison, my best friend Harrison Ford. It was hilarious. The two of them are great together.
He's a great guy, man.
I would have loved to have seen more screen time with those two characters. The way they were bouncing off each other was fantastic. This isn't the way the Force works. And what are you doing that for? What are you doing that for? Just all that stuff.
That's the
great.
best moments.
Yeah, that was classic Star Wars for me, and it lost its way after that. But that's the problem when you don't have a story for 3 films, and you're just segmenting them in the way they did, and giving the director for each of those films that sort of creative freedom to do what they want. It just didn't make any sense.
So that Arnie stream's brilliant. I'm going to blow my own trumpet, more for Stephen.
Yeah.
Just there was a moment in particular.
Or is this the Razor moment?
Razor moment.
I thought my
oh, it was great. It's trash.
My cloning the Barbarian was quite a
cloning the Barbarian.
A good pun, but yeah. Silly stuff.
We are huge fans of Arnold, but we put all of his movies into the average category.
That's his fault.
More than half of the movies were average or trash. There's only 4 in the S category.
John, listen, we could actually create our own tier system. Who was the worst in the Star Wars sequel trilogy? Their characters. God. We could really do that and just make a list of.
Who was the worst in the Star Wars sequel trilogy? Oh God, that little annoying thing. That little annoying thing in The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? The one that helps get C-3PO's memories back.
It's a little.
I fucking hated that.
Yeah.
Rose Tico.
I don't mind Rose, to be honest with you. It was delivery.
Those overalls. What are you doing? She's fucking in great shape.
Richard E. Grant's character was a bit of a pleb as well.
Yeah,
he did with Ginger Boy's character.
I stood, I shouted, I cheered. Simply beautiful, breathtaking.
Hux for me was the biggest crime. Him and Finn, I thought was terrible.
The biggest crime was killing Snowcoff in the first movie. Second movie. And then basically revealing he is some bitch clone.
Yeah, I am
Palpatine of Sheath. Doesn't make any sense, man.
I still don't understand it. I don't really understand.
I fundamentally believe that's why they brought Andy Serkis back in Andor to right that wrong, because they wronged that guy.
Yeah, they did.
They wronged him badly. But while Lucasfilm greenlight a Daisy Ridley Ray Star Wars movie, it wouldn't put it beyond them, because they hold nothing but contempt and spite for a large proportion of the Star Wars fan base. I'd like to think they've learnt from the great work Favreau, Filoni and the likes have done on Disney Plus with The Mandalorian, Andor, and learn for that and create some brilliant content in movie form with new characters in a new part of the galaxy that's going to unite the fan base.
If they're going to do something,
don't spite the fan base and fracture it again.
I hope obviously Favreau and Filoni are involved in some capacity, and even one of the directors that we've seen in The Mandalorian or Andor, to deal with that film, it would make it a lot better. But you have to get the right people in behind the scenes first and foremost before you even consider doing that sort of film, because it's almost like the Hayden Christensen thing. Time will pass, time will heal old wounds and stuff like that. I know you're saying that, but John, you've got to remember the hatred for that character at the time.
I didn't hate Anakin.
No, you didn't.
I never hated Anakin.
There was a large section that just did not like Hayden Christensen's portrayal. Now everyone loves him. I think there's a small portion of people that probably are clinging on to that.
I didn't like what they did in Attack of the Clones, rolling around the field with the space
again,
thing.
Not his fault.
But I've never hated Anakin. They were screwed just for the concept. How do you better the original trilogy? How do you take a story that's already established and make it have jeopardy, have stakes, make it watchable?
Do you know something, John? I always felt that the prequel trilogy, it was a tougher gig because it had to lead somewhere that we already knew it was leading. There was no stakes with the likes of Palpatine, Anakin.
You've seen that with Andor, how you can do it.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it right. With the sequel trilogy, there was no excuse. They could have done anything they wanted to, and they didn't. They had those 3 original characters back, the actors back, and did not utilise them. That was the biggest crime of that sequel trilogy.
That's the biggest crime of the branding of that sequel trilogy. They announced they were bringing them back. They made it look as though they were going to have palpable roles.
Yeah.
And then they discarded them.
They killed them
for a new generation.
Film, yeah.
And the new generation, sad to say,
I don't believe they would have killed Leia off if obviously Carrie Fisher hadn't sadly passed away. I think they would have kept her. This was a Kennedy thing.
Well, they did keep her.
Yeah, well, they did. That was terrible.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
And they left her with Rose.
John, you might have to rotoscope me Middle of February, by the way. I've just been thinking about this.
Yes.
I'll be on holiday, so rotoscope me in somehow.
Just get a cardboard cutout of Stephen and I'll sort of do like, I'll do, what would you call it again? Puppet work, what's it called again? Ventriloquist dummy work. I'll just kind of like speak under my voice.
Animatronics, yeah.
Yeah, so just get you, I'll talk out the corner of my mouth.
Monty Python.
So Stephen, what's your thoughts on this? Yeah,
fucking shite. Yeah.
I'll get you FaceTime then.
Yeah.
From the poolside, you lucky bastard. I'm in freezing cold Glasgow.
Oh dear.
But look, Star Wars is in a very tricky position just now. I've said time and again I don't want to see them going back to movies for a long time. I grew up in an era where there was no Star Wars movies. As a kid, right up until 99 with The Phantom Menace, I was already 10 years old by that point. I hadn't seen a new Star Wars movie, and even then it was 3 years between releases. I think 3-4 years.
It was, yeah.
It was
77, 80, 83, and then 99, 2002, 2005.
2005. It was 3 year gaps. You weren't getting 2-3 movies a year.
No.
Which Disney tried to do. Try to repeat the Marvel template, and it wasn't ever going to work with Star Wars. I grew up in that era where it was special. There was an aura around the brand. You'd go into a shop and see merchandise, you'd think, wow, look at that's Star Wars.
I think they've got it right now. I think they've got it right with the television stuff.
This is what I'm saying, Stephen. They have to stick with TV.
Yeah,
the TV content is long form. It's a different kind of storytelling.
Daisy Ridley returning a web series?
No. I just don't want to see Daisy Ridley return as Rey, Stephen. The character's too divisive.
Daisy Ridley done since Star Wars, apart from
nothing?
The Murder on the Orient Express?
She worked with Tom Holland in a dystopian movie where there was no women.
Right,
I think she crash landed or something. She was the only woman.
Okay.
I think that was, and apparently not a great movie.
Yeah.
That's what she's saying. She's saying in the quote, "I'm out of work. I'm looking for employment." So she's,
I don't like
she's
to see
joking.
that, to be fair. I don't like to see that.
No, I don't. But Stephen,
that's the nature of the game, John. That is the nature of acting.
Your man who played Aladdin in the live-action Aladdin remake, I thought he was outstanding. He's not had any work.
Yeah.
Can't get a job.
Yeah. It's a cool
Your
game.
man from Everything Everywhere All at Once, what's he called again? Ki Kwan. You know that guy anyway.
Jonathan Kwan.
Fucking years. Didn't have a job for 20 odd years.
Brendan
Couldn't
Fraser.
get work. Brendan Fraser couldn't get work on anything of note.
Yeah.
It happens to actors. She's got to go out and reinvent herself, prove to the world she is a good actor, because right now I don't think she's that great. To me, there was two real actors of the young generation, and that was Oscar Isaac and John Boyega.
Do you know who could save her career?
Not Oscar Isaac, Adam Driver and John Boyega.
Do you know who could save Daisy Ridley's career here? Quentin Tarantino.
Quentin Tarantino, I see what you did there.
Does this all the time, John. He does it all the time with
I'm doing a Star Wars movie.
washed up actors. He brings them back and gives them a new lease of life, and that's what we're going to talk about next, John. We're going to talk about Quentin Tarantino called on to make Kill Bill 3 by original star. This is obviously Vivica A. Fox, who was obviously Copperhead, I think it was. In that opening scene, the great opening scene that we got in the first Kill Bill Volume 1, John. Speaking with Variety, Fox called on Tarantino to continue the Kill Bill film series with another entry. The actor claims fans are clamouring for more of the story, teasing a potential follow-up centred around Green's daughter, Nakia Bell, a child who witnesses her mother's bloody murder. Fox states she would absolutely return in a sequel. How would you do that? You're dead. Asked by Tarantino. People are hungry. Quentin, let's go. I've been waiting. They said it's going to be my daughter growing up. I know he'll figure out some kind of way. Maybe I'll be in a flashback. Yeah. I'd love to work Quentin Tarantino. I'm giving him his full title again, and I'd love to work with Uma Thurman again. It was a lot of training. John, outstanding stuff.
I want to work with Quentin again. I think all the nonsense that came out.
I think the stuff with Fox, yeah, exactly. And Uma Thurman was fantastic. It was a great opening sequence just to sort of get us right into the sort of mix of these characters in this world that he created for Volume 1 and Volume 2. Tarantino's only doing one more film.
No, he's not. It's bullshit.
If he's saying that, it's not going to be Volume 3 unless he considers that one part of the same film, like he does with Volume 2. Yeah. He doesn't count Volume 2 as a second film.
He released it as two movies together.
Yeah, because I don't remember when they promoted Kill Bill Volume 1. I think I don't know what number it was, but you know that numbering thing he does, the fourth film by Quentin Tarantino. He did not put that tagline on Volume 2.
Oh, because he considers it the one movie.
So that's a way around it. He could do it in that sense.
I don't think.
But
we're going to get into this again. Should Quentin retire?
I don't think
from film.
I don't think Kill Bill needs another volume. I don't think it does. I think it was perfect the way it was. Would I like to see it though? Of course I would. Because like Star Wars sequel trilogy, I knew it was going to be a car crash. I went, no, but give me it. I want to see it. I'll get nervous when I go to the theatre. I don't know so much about Volume 3. I'd get nervous about it, but
you remember Kevin before The Force Awakens?
He went, I don't know if this is a good idea.
Yeah. He was up all night.
Yeah. But I don't think any of us would lose sleep over Kill Bill Volume 3.
No, I wouldn't.
I just don't think it's necessary, to be honest with you. Would it be nice? Of course it would.
But obviously it's the daughter who witnesses the fight in the house. She's spared. It'd be a great revenge story. And Stephen, we've spoken about this before. It'd be poetry in motion, really. Because it goes from her being the wronged individual, seeking revenge, going after someone, and then it flips and she's the hunted. And it's the daughter who's seeking revenge. I think that is just beautiful. 3 acts, and the way it flips, it's symmetry. It's beautiful. I think that would work lovely. And I would trust Quentin if he was taking the challenge on to make a third one and make it an all sort of inclusive 3-part story, an omnibus if you like, a trilogy. I think you'd make it work. I think it'd be special. I'd like to see it. It's just a casting. How do you cast the character? You need to get that bang on. We know this guy's a master of flashbacks. We've seen that in Pulp Fiction. Christ.
Yeah.
I was just watching it the other week. To me, it's the greatest movie for perspectives, flashbacks, mucking around with timelines.
Yeah.
So we know he can make that work in a way where it will add poignancy and emotion to the daughter character. It's a difficult one to balance because obviously, what's the name of my Furman character's name in it again? I always forget.
Beatrix Kiddo,
Beatrix. She's almost become the villain.
Yeah.
In that movie.
She would have to be, wouldn't she?
She'd become the villain. And then that's a dodgy one to balance that with the first 2 movies. She's the out and out hero, protagonist. It's how you get the balancing right.
I think people who know the history and watch Volume 1 and 2 would understand their motives anyway. It was all to do with getting our daughter back.
Mm-hmm. Yes, flipping perspectives a bit there as well.
Most of the time she was backed into a corner before she would lash out. So I think from that perspective, although she would be technically the villain of the film, you would sympathise and understand her position and how she became who she became in those 2 films. Casting, I've not seen Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 for so long, John, maybe 15 years or something like that. I can't remember who survived those 2 films in terms of the characters. Did all the villains die? I can't remember. They probably did because she was going out with a list, wasn't she? She had a hit list, so probably they're all done.
Yeah, I think
they were. I think they were all murdered.
Was Gogo Yubari the one with the mace? Oh, what a scene that was, man!
She was the one that had the school uniform on.
Yeah,
and
the
she
mace.
had that ball and chain thing. Yeah,
that was outstanding. What a scene that was. Sensational. I'm just trying to find the daughter character. Was there not talk of Zoe Kravitz?
The daughter character,
Zazie Beetz.
The daughter character, John, was actually in quite a few Tarantino films growing up. I think she was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Was she? Yeah.
I think she was the one carrying the watermelon.
Oh yeah. Part of Manson's.
Yeah, Brad Pitt was eyeing up. I'm pretty sure. Can't remember. Is it BB? Can't remember.
BB. Where was that? BB.
Because she would be.
Because I just remember Zazie Beetz was getting linked.
That's the kid.
Is that the kid? Yeah. I don't know how you'd cast it then. I've not got a fucking clue, but the casting would have to be on point.
Yeah.
First and foremost. And then you are balancing if this is going to be the last Tarantino movie. Do you want to waste it on a Kill Bill?
I don't.
Third part, personally. Getting into that conversation about Tarantino and his career, where it should end after 1, he's got this notion that there is a shelf life for directors. And after a certain point, they drop off their quality. He's nowhere near that level yet.
No.
This man's trajectory is still going up. He's not made a bad movie for me, ever. It's still going up. He's not even plateaued yet to start going down. So you don't stop when you're not even plateaued. He's still relatively young. What is he, like 60? Early 60s?
Yeah.
Late 50s? I think he's early 60s. He shouldn't be stopping anywhere near. Just now, it should be at least 3, 4, 5 movies down the road.
I think perhaps
10, 15 years from now.
I think perhaps maybe he is thinking that.
He's talking about getting into stage.
Yeah, the process of a Tarantino from start to finish, for the minute he pens his first lines right up to the end credit scene, it could be something like 5 years, because he doesn't release films that often, very much like Chris Nolan. And I think by that time John will be in his mid-60s, still relatively young. It's not like George Lucas committed to 10 years of his life to do a trilogy, and he said, I can't commit to doing any more because I'll be in my 80s by that point. This is just films, individual and independent films from Tarantino. But I think it's going to be like the Hugh Jackman thing with Wolverine. He thought he was done, but he's not. I think he probably feels that way at the moment. He probably feels that he's got one more good film in him, and he probably is concerned about his legacy and doesn't want diminishing returns if future films are not up to the sort of standard. A few films dipped in terms of critics. In my opinion, Death Proof was a fantastic film, but it didn't do too well, obviously, with the critics. And there's been a couple of films like that.
The Hateful Eight wasn't one of his outstanding movies, but I still enjoyed it.
It was good.
Dialogue heavy.
Very long as well, but it was a good classic Western feel to it as well. And I think it was
a great line about dinguses.
Yeah. I had a great, obviously the production value as well, John. I think he used the old traditional
it was the film,
lenses, from the Western period.
Took it on a sort of tour. Yeah.
So
with actual intervals and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, who knows?
I would like to see Kill Bill 3 happen, but I don't want it to be his last movie.
Yeah.
And I want this guy to continue making film. I want to see that R-rated Star Trek movie. And I just want to see this guy. Stephen, the world's going to be so much shitter when these guys aren't making movies anymore. These are independent directors who make event movies every 3, 4, 5 years that make you want to go to a theatre and see it. That's not something that's in a great abundance just now, with all the sort of big studios churning out the same shit.
John, we do have a handful of good up and coming. Well, they're not up and coming now. Maybe over the last 5 years they were up and coming. That came through now and are doing good stuff. But there's not any Tarantinos out there. There's not any Scorseses out there. There's not any new Christopher Nolans out there to that sort of standard.
You'd say Jordan Peele
is the one that
Taika Waititi is trying to get to that level.
James Gunn.
James Gunn's more producer now, though, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's taking on that producer role.
He's not going to be doing many directing films now.
There's a couple, but
Matt Reeves. You know, there is that element, but time will tell whether or not they are up to the task of filling in those shoes. I don't see it, to be honest with you. No one's replaced Kubrick. You know,
Hitchcock.
Or Hitchcock.
Kubrick was a once in a multi-generational talent, though.
Yeah.
He's another one that did only 8 movies or something.
It's incredible, John, when you think about it.
And they were all outstanding.
Yeah.
That one.
I think that's probably on Tarantino's mind.
Was that fucking romantic?
He wants to make sure that his legacy is intact. I don't think he's made a bad film.
What was the one Kubrick did? It was like a period piece. Wasn't I Always Shut? That's mental.
That was the Tom Cruise one, wasn't it?
Was it?
Spartacus?
No, it wasn't that, no. God, what's it called again? It's not Barry Lyndon. Could be here all day looking for it. He didn't do many movies. Was it Barry Lyndon?
I'm not sure.
No, it wasn't Barry Lyndon.
I'm not sure, John. Dr. Strangelove was the Pure Cells one.
Was it Barry Lyndon?
It's a period drama, so with Ryan on here.
Anyway, we're getting down a rabbit hole here.
Yeah, but you know
it was Barry Lyndon. It was Barry Lyndon.
Yeah.
The guy, you look at the diversity of his movies. They go from the surreal to horror to romantic
war
stuff. I mean, the guy did everything. He is legendary. I can understand why Tarantino's thinking the way he's thinking.
Yeah.
And even Nolan's not done many movies.
No.
So, I mean, I can't get my head round why he's potentially talking about getting out.
There's obviously a vanity thing that comes into play as well. Like actors, it affects directors as well in terms of legacy and how they'll be remembered. Stephen,
you think of the Beatles getting out after 9 years.
Yeah.
What was it, 10 albums?
Yeah.
At their absolute pomp. They're remembered forever young.
Yeah.
Forever in their late 20s, early 20s, mid 20s. The Stones get old and wrinkly, are still touring, and the quality dropped off a cliff.
Yeah.
And it's sullied them a bit.
Yeah,
they were never
they're
spoken.
fading away. I mean, obviously the sad passing of Charlie Watts last year or the year before. They're slowly passing away as well, and just that's what happens. That's life, I suppose. But with obviously the Beatles, the four of them were still living when they ended it, and they still had, obviously, when the four of them were together separately, for a good 10 years before obviously Lennon was murdered. But you're absolutely right, John. I think it's all to do with legacy. I think that's what it is. And if Quentin does a 10th, I don't know how many films he's done, if he does a last film, and then he thinks maybe in a couple of years' time, I think I can do another one, then he'll do another one. He's not going to just say, no, I can't, because I said I can't do it now. I boxed myself into a corner. I just feel that he's given it a sort of a timeline now. He's given it that sort of, this will be my last. I don't think he'll step away from, obviously, film altogether. Whether that be screenwriting or producing.
Well, he's saying that he's going to go into books.
Yeah.
And sort of theatre productions. I want to see Kill Bill 3 though.
Yeah.
As long as it's not his last.
If it comes out, I'll watch it. If it doesn't, I'm not going to lose any sleep. Maybe about 10-15 years ago I went, we need a third one, but we don't really, if we're being honest. Story was contained, it was concluded and very satisfying. But we'll move on, John, to our music news now. And it's Axl Rose, sponsored by Dettol. Axl Rose, John.
Sponsored by Axl's hair.
We'll get into that.
He's still got it.
Axl Rose delivers heartfelt speech, performs November Rain at Lisa Marie Presley's Graceland Memorial Service. This coming in from Billboard.
Just try to remember November Rain.
And it's a piano sort of ballad one. Axl Rose was among several music stars to honour Lisa Marie Presley during the late singer-songwriter's public memorial service at Graceland on Sunday, January 22nd. That was. In a rare speaking appearance, the Guns N' Roses frontman took the stage at Memphis Gathering, which was live streamed from Graceland's website, to share some heartfelt words about his close friend before performing a solo rendition of the Guns N' Roses classic November Rain. With Lisa's passing, this is what he said, with Lisa's passing, I knew if I was invited, I need to come to these ceremonies. Rose began his emotional statement reading from a cell phone. I hadn't planned on speaking, and when I was put on the spot, I really didn't know what to say. I was tongue-tied and nervous. I didn't really know what I said, but as I'm sure many of you are still in shock, as I feel I will continue to be for some time. He continued to say, I never in a million years imagined being here singing under these circumstances. She was extremely proud as anyone could be, of her father and his many accomplishments and places in music. She was very proud of the Elvis movie, and how she felt it portrayed her father, and the care that was put into the film by those involved, director Baz Luhrmann's vision and direction, and Austin Butler's dedication to the role of a father. I think that was all he had to say, John, to be honest with you. Just talking about, obviously, the rendition of November Rain. It's one of my favourite Guns N' Roses songs. Now, I can't claim to be a great big fan of Guns N' Roses and know all their stuff. I know the hits. That's as far as it goes, and I enjoy their hits. I think they're a fantastic band, or they were a fantastic band when they first came out. First heard them in 87 with, obviously, Sweet Child of Mine and Paradise City. Two excellent tracks, and sporadically have had great hits as well through that period. November Rain was sort of a change in tone from that sort of heavy rock stuff to a more ballady thing. When I heard this performance, I forgot how good Axl Rose was as a singer and playing the piano. He is a great musician, a great showman, and you forget that at times, that he's not all just the rock and roll lifestyle and raving it and being absolutely crazy and stuff like that. There is obviously that sensitive side to him and his writing, and obviously with the band. But this was quite touching, and I didn't know he had a connection with Lisa Marie Presley, but there was quite a few, obviously, other singers. I think Alanis Morissette was there. Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins was there as well. So there was a great turnout. I've seen a bit of it, John, but I was really just watching the November Rain footage. Yeah,
I didn't know this was happening. Well, I seen something about it, but I'm not one for watching these sort of funeral things, these sort of celebration of one's life. I did watch the Taylor Hawkins one. It was like a live performance at, I think, Wembley. The end of last year, but that was just because I'm a huge fan of the Foo Fighters and obviously Taylor. With Lisa, I'm not going to lie, I didn't even know Lisa Marie was a singer in her own right. I thought she was just some sort of celebrity figure.
Elvis's
daughter, obviously, and that was the sort of legacy of Elvis propelled her into fame. Also, I knew she was married to the likes of Nick Cage and stuff like that over the years. Michael Jackson. I never realised she had her own career as a singer. And obviously throughout that career she will have picked up contacts the likes of Axl Rose, and it's nice to see, obviously with her untimely demise, you've got these people coming out supporting her legacy, celebrating her life. It was a good turnout. I remember when the news broke about Lisa Marie passing, I was actually surprised. I was shocked.
Yeah.
Because I'd just been watching
the Globes
highlights from it, seen her there. I was watching out of Austin Butler, Actors Round Table. I know he played a brilliant role as Elvis, really passionate, seen him hugging her, with her. So it was a real surprise to see she'd passed away. And obviously, I know of her sort of tragedies over the last few years. I think she lost her son to suicide. It really affected her deeply.
You could see that,
So that and her father's passing, she had a very, very fucking hard life, and she had a lot of emotional trauma in there, so it was a real shame to see her passing away, man. Obviously, as a mother, you don't want Priscilla, you don't want to see any parent outliving their kid at any point.
She was 1968 she was born, so she was 8 years older than me, John. And I always thought she was a stunning looking lady. Looked very much like Elvis, is certainly in the cheekbone region and the eyes. Absolute perfection in terms of looks.
Got the Elvis face, haven't they? Strong
I hadn't obviously seen her probably since the Nick Cage stuff, and then when I saw her obviously on the week before her passing, I just
she
thought
didn't look great, man.
She just looked like she was struggling with life. So much so when she was, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, so much so, John, when she was standing next to Priscilla, I wasn't sure what one was what. I think that's how bad her son's passing affected her. It just drained the life out of her. Obviously,
she
emotionally,
did battle the demons. She was quite vocal about how it impacted on her. And obviously, tragic what happened to that guy as well. So I mean, there's been a lot of tragedy surrounding the Presley family, if you like. The legacy of that family. So it was really sad to hear of her passing. You never want to hear that. And then also Jeff Beck as well passing away around about the same time. We lost a couple of big names.
It was a day apart, And
that one surprised me too. Also John, being a huge fan of Johnny Depp.
Were you a fan of Guns N' Roses at all? Did you like
fan of the hits, Stephen? I like the Welcome
like
to the Jungle, obviously Sweet Child of Mine. I was more a fan of Slash and his guitar playing. He really got me into guitars. Him and to be honest with the Rolling Stones and the Beatles. Well, what got me into guitars, Sweet Child of Mine, that riff, the minor, what's the fuck's the name again, the minor pentatonic scale, I think it's on. That got me into the guitar, just this vibe of this guy with the hat and the hair. It was more him. I was never really a massive fan of Axl Rose. It's just a bit of a
typical frontman, isn't it?
A bit of a tadger, for lack of a better word. Just very melodramatic. Me. It's just basically everything you don't want to see in a frontman he had. Very loud, great voice, so you can't deny the man's vocal range. I think it was up there with the likes of Mariah Carey. Just incredible range that he had. And also he was the frontman of this huge band. They were undoubtedly a massive band, Guns N' Roses. And as you did say, Stephen, the styles, they have stylistically changed over the years. Obviously Slash is off doing his own thing now, I think, with his own band.
Well, I think
but I was more
I think that he had a version of Guns N' Roses out maybe about 15 years ago that didn't obviously have any original lineup.
It's like that guy who
from the Beach Boys, who's going about doing the Beach Boys stuff.
But you remember, that other guy. But you remember us going to see Ray Davies.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, it's one ticked off my list. I mean, I went to see the Who. No, you didn't. You're like 20 odds. John Entwistle and guys like that fucking died years ago.
Keith Moon.
You've seen not the Who.
Half of them.
You've seen Pete Townsend.
That's like you saying you've seen Nirvana when you went to see the Foo Fighters.
Well, exactly. I always joke that I've seen the lesser half of Nirvana. Chris Novoselic and Kurt Cobain. Well, Nirvana from the early days. They get Dave in. He was like the 20th drummer. And obviously Pat Smear comes in as like a sort of sideman for live shows.
Sin says, John, I know she was a singer from quite some time ago. She was never huge though. I don't think she made any sort of...
I think it's hard when your father's Elvis Presley. It's like football, isn't it?
It's like
Johan Cruyff
kids try to make it in music.
Possible, man.
I think Julian was probably the one that...
Danny Harrison, man. Fucking hell, he's doing very well in life. He's looking good, man.
Yeah,
there was a photograph came up of him.
But it's absolutely right.
It's a good bio back.
It's absolutely right though, John. I think it was quite some time ago she was a singer, and I don't think she made it any news over here in the UK, to be fair. So that's why we weren't really familiar with any career or anything like that. Wasn't that obviously we weren't that interested. Certainly,
I'm a huge fan of Elvis. I love Elvis. Everyone I think loves Elvis. it's impossible not to love him.
I will say one thing though, John, along with Priscilla, with the tiara, they have managed that estate very well, and kept obviously the memory of Elvis Presley alive and well. Obviously, the way they've handled it, they've not done anything tacky, which a lot of people would do with estates if they got their hands on it, and releasing greatest hits all the time. I think there's only been one greatest hits that have ever come out.
There's an Essentials album and there's a number ones.
Number ones, that's enough. That's all you need, isn't it?
Well, I mean, man's career speaks for itself. It wasn't that wide ranging. Obviously, had a huge break, didn't he? And then came back.
Well,
and
he did
a
lot
of Las Vegas stuff.
He did the film stuff as well when the Beatles were out, and it was mostly like film tracks that were coming out as albums. So
what sums Elvis up for me? There's 3 eras for me. The early stuff with these Wham people, sort of new generation. The return stuff with the black leather stuff, getting into the Las Vegas shit. I call it shit because it was still good, but it wasn't. It was like.
It was obviously tied to that.
But the best era for me was the films, the likes of Return to Sender. You watch the Return to Sender video, it's straight from a movie. Man's just dapper as hell. He's got the suit on. He's on the stage dancing. He's doing all this. I'm gonna let him in the mailbox.
Is that the one that sort of like crisscrosses in the background?
Yeah, he's kind of doing all this though. And bring it right back to me. She wrote upon it and they said dancing. Man, the guy
John,
was.
That would be a good tier system. Elvis hits.
Oh yeah,
this
Scotty Moore, I remember Scotty Moore now, I always forget his name, but what a guitarist he was. They were all towering figures, man.
Bill Black, wasn't it, the
bass? You think, Stephen, like the 50s, 60s, Elvis a 6 foot man, Scotty Moore well over 6 foot, the bass is well over 6 big, towering guys, man, they were just...
That's your centre halves right there,
They were it.
Yeah, definitely.
That was music.
But John, just the last note on obviously Lisa Marie Presley. Sad to see her passing, obviously. It's very tragic, very young age. 58 was it?
58.
Very sad indeed. Always looked at her, a beautiful lady, beautiful girl at the time as well. Thought she's absolutely stunning. She looks so much like her father. Bit of her mother in there as well, who was a very good looking lady as well.
Even now she's doing alright.
It's safe to say the Presley family was a good looking family, John, but it's nice to see Axl Rose obviously with those nice words, and obviously it's affected him as it would. I didn't realise how close he was to Lisa Marie, but hopefully it
shows a more softer side to Axl as well.
He
has, as you did see, he's got this sort of more softer emotional side, because in the 90s, I just recall, as I was going to say, I was always more of a fan of sort of alternative music, the likes of grunge, Nirvana, bands like that, and they hated Guns N' Roses, Kurt Cobain and Dave Grohl hated that. So I went back and watched videos of them absolutely destroying, throwing pot shots at them. They hated each other.
Different styles of music, genres, isn't it? And it's total opposites, but not my scene, John. I've got to be honest with you. I've got to make that clear as well. I was more into the stuff you were just saying as well. I'm not into heavy metal or anything like that. It's not my bag, but good few tunes in there.
But undoubtedly,
we'll move on to our final piece of news, John. It's all gaming news, as we always do here on a Monday night. And we're talking about, forget GTA 6 and Red Dead Redemption 3. We really need LA Noire 2, but do we? We'll get into that in a moment, John, but I'm going to read this.
I was toiling for a graphic there. Oh, there you go, my hands just a broke the 4-4 again. We'll just go full break 4-4. There you go. There's what's really happening here.
Yeah, get the guitar out.
There's the intro again.
Hey, John, I'll just read this little bit and then we can get into obviously what we want to talk about in terms of LA Noire 2 and our experiences with the first game. Although there is plenty of hype for future Rockstar titles like Grand Theft Auto 6 and Red Dead Redemption 3, LA Noire 2 often gets left out of the conversation. The original LA Noire was different in tone and content from any other Rockstar title, placing players on the side of the law enforcement to solve crimes with a unique interrogation system. While new entries for Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption will almost undoubtedly be strong titles upon their eventual releases, LA Noire 2 shows more potential than both of them to explore new territory. John, both of us played the original game back in 2010, I believe it was. That's how long ago it was it came out. And as much as I enjoyed the single player game, I don't think there was an actual multiplayer game for it anyway. So
there wasn't, sadly.
There was a lot of restrictions involved in terms of
it was a very linear experience. It was on rails.
That's the perfect way. It was trams. And I think, John, that was one of the things that I just couldn't get into because we'd already had GTA 5, I think at this time. It was the big game in terms of free mode. just do what you want, go where you want.
Infamous hotel in the middle island of New York.
Yeah, you just couldn't do anything in this game. The storyline was fantastic, John. In fact, I remember before we could identify the actor Mark Ruffalo, there was a character in this, and I think both of us had saw Shutter Island, and we went, he's like that guy at Shutter Island, that cop. Yeah. And obviously it was Mark Ruffalo we were talking about, but
he was a cop.
and John, the other thing is the character you played looked like Chris Commons as well.
He did look like Chris Commons, and he just signed at that point, for Celtic,
But I thought it was a good game. I thought it was a great idea. I thought the concept, the look as well, it was a stunning looking game, but very restrictive.
No, and it was great, Stephen, being around LA in that time period. I think it was the 1940s or 50s. It was not long after World War II. One of the things that always struck me was it was quite in-depth, the interrogation. You almost were like a Columbo, hunting for clues. You would pick up shoes and look at their shoe size. Loads of people had a US size 8. That always sprung to my mind. I'm like, fucking hell, it's a very common size, wasn't it? And obviously it was a really interesting mechanic, the game mechanic. You were writing in a notepad. You had to go down lines of investigation. So taking that sort of game mechanic and giving it a new lick of polish, paint if you like, and bring it into the 21st century. First game was out in the 21st century, but bring it into 2024, 2025, 2026, whenever it may come out, because obviously GTA is not even out yet.
Yeah.
The new GTA 6. It'd be very interesting to see where they could take that mechanic. Could it be an open world experience where you've got a lot more interactivity with randoms in the street? How could they expand out this idea for LA Noire and make it a more, I don't know,
according to this article,
open
John,
sandbox,
saying that the possibility could be that it's set in the 1970s.
That would be very interesting, wouldn't it? Because that immediately gives me vibes of Dirty Harry.
Yeah.
And I'd like them to move away from LA Noire and make it a California style thing. You can go up to San Francisco and you've got that sort of gay scene up in San Francisco that was a huge part of Clinton, Dirty Harry, but also you had the Scorpion Killer and you had the sort of the leotards and all of these sort of colourful things going on. Make it that statewide experience, and I'm telling you, it would be dynamite.
Rockstar are good at period.
Get in.
PC's John, you've saw it, and obviously Vice City.
Yes.
They nailed it. They absolutely nailed it.
And the music, Stephen, I'd love the sort of soundtrack to be like a sort of Dirty Harry soundtrack. I forget the guy, the great composer that did it. He's one of the all-time great composers of that era. Get that kind of music in where it's almost like it's the drumming. You know what I'm talking about, the drumming, man. It's just something
classic
about
1970s,
that era.
soundtrack.
I'm going to search up Dirty Harry.
John,
that guy.
I wouldn't be adverse to it. If you're asking me, would I prefer it over what in terms of what would come first, GTA 6?
Oh, GTA 6.
Red Dead Redemption 3 or LA Noire 2? LA Noire 2 would be third in that list. It would. It's not that I don't like the game or anything like that. I thought the game was very interesting. It was something different, but they have to up their game for the sequel. They'd have to give you sort of free reign, make it multiplayer as well, I think. I'm not really Lalo Schifrin from Enter the Dragon. I mean, I think Cool Hand Luke.
I
think
he wasn't who I thought it was, though. I'm not going to lie, but good.
Yeah,
I agree with you, Stephen. Ultimately, there is levels. I'd actually put an LA Noire sequel above Red Dead just because we've had a Red Dead game recently. It's the sort of current game, premium game from Rockstar. It's got an expansive multiplayer online thing going on where they can update it incrementally. It's got one of the greatest stories, single player stories ever made. The level of complexity, detail, an ever changing world. You go in and things are changing about you. You kill someone, it has ramifications for the world. That's there, and that's a new game. GTA is over 10 years old. We need a new GTA game. That is an event. We speak of Tarantino in the world of gaming. GTA is an event. That's a multi-billion dollar franchise. When that comes out, the tills ring, be it digital or physical. So we need a new GTA. That's also number one. And what that's going to bring, if it is indeed multiple cities, huge game map, brilliant single player world. Red Dead set the bar. We need that for GTA now. We need to be accessing more buildings. We can't have these hollow husk of buildings where it's all...
Yeah, it does man nothing that.
It makes the world feel small.
You can see the inside of them, but you can't get in them.
We need less of that, man. We need more interactivity in GTA. The multiplayer has to go up a level, because I lost hours of my life to GTA 5 online. Hours racing and doing all sorts of shit.
Yeah.
I want that again. LA Noire, I would put LA Noire second in the list of what's to come.
Enough,
Just because of the potential, Stephen. I love the detective stuff. I grew up with Columbo. I grew up with all these detective cop movies, like the Dirty Harry series.
Yeah.
There's just something that intrigues me about that. Seeing that done in video game format. A new era, 70s or 80s or whatever, what that would bring in terms of music, the style, the cars, the crime. Just making it expansive, man, almost like GTA, but it's crime and you're the good guy instead of the bad guy. That's what I want to see for this franchise, evolving it out and making it better. But Stephen, just the potential's there for that game to succeed. It's got huge potential. I mean, it was a really enjoyable game back in the day. It was different.
Yeah.
And even now it's playable. I've watched a streamer that we're aware of, Scottish streamer, playing it recently. She was shite at it, but she was still playing it. So I mean, that's like a good bit on from its release, and it still holds this sort of attraction to a new generation of gamers. So there's definitely interest in that franchise, if it's even a franchise after one game.
It wasn't a perfect game, John, and hopefully they can learn from their mistakes. They weren't mistakes. They obviously made it and intended it in the way it was released, but
it's difficult to make an online game when you're a copper.
Yeah.
Because where can you go with it? I mean, is it like good guy, bad guy?
I suppose you could chase the bad guys, but I suppose you'd
I'd always want to go with the bad guy.
Yeah, so would I. More freedom with a bad guy.
Stephen, I'm fucking weird, as you know. We played Call of Duty back in the day. I'd always go the Axis.
Yeah.
Because I preferred their guns.
Yep.
The Car 98 or whatever it was, that single bolt action rifle, man. That was me.
Yeah.
I never went to Allies.
Nah.
So I'm weird, man. I always like to go the bad guys and things. It's the same. And Dead by Daylight just now, the game I'm currently hammering. I should be the good guy. I'm a survivor, but I always want to be the bad guy. So I terrorise the killer.
Nothing wrong with that.
And I make their life hell. I make their experience a living hell, to the point where you go on the forums and they're crying like bitches about people like me. So I'm toxic, man, when it comes to gaming. So if they do make a multiplayer game in LA Noire, in a sequel, I will be playing the robbers, the criminals, if you like, to be hunted down. But I'd love to see it.
Yeah, so would I.
Do you stay in LA though? Do you change it to a statewide? You go to another city? It wouldn't be LA Noire at that point, but yeah.
It wouldn't be Noire either. In the 70s,
Noire.
Would it? Yeah.
I mean, it would. Noire's like a sort of crime thing, isn't it? It's like, is that not what noir is? Detective? Is that not another meaning for detective? I actually don't know what noir means. How do you actually?
It's a style, is it not?
It is, yeah. Noir. French word for black.
Yeah. Interesting.
For black?
LA black.
LA Noire, yeah, because I think in noir I think of black and white.
Yeah.
I think of the Noir Spider-Man and Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
And it was Nick Cage who was playing it, I think. That's what I think of.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that wasn't black and white, though. LA Noire was very much in colour.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see it. But with Matt's going round it up, we've got another show to do.
Yeah, that's
it's
what
offline.
I'm concerned about, yeah.
It's offline.
Yeah.
We'll keep that tight and taut and condensed. Don't worry about it, Stephen. We're professionals on here. We know what we're doing. Let's go around it up. What's your thoughts on the topics we touched upon? What do you make about that headline? Daisy Ridley. Do you want to see Daisy coming back to Star Wars? Do you think that Lucasfilm will greenlight a new Rey Star Wars movie? What's your thoughts on that? Stephen's praying for it. I'm fucking crying out of my pillow even thinking about it. What do you make about Quentin Tarantino and Kill Bill 3? Should it be made? Vivica A. Fox, however you say her name, is trying to apply some of her. She's trying to coerce him, and I'm trying to end this show because my dog's just farted. Share your thoughts on that. Share your thoughts on Lisa Marie Presley, Axl Rose's heartfelt sort of speech performance at her tribute following her death. Finally, do you want to see LA Noire getting a sequel? Would you like to see it before GTA or Red Dead? Share your thoughts down below about that. A whole lot more. You can go down below in the comments section. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon to get notifications straight to your eyeballs. Do the same thing over on Twitch. Follow button, notifications button over there to see us live on another platform doing the exact same fucking thing we are doing here. And all that's left to say is thank you for watching. Thank you for the comments, Sin, because you're the only one that's been in here and we do appreciate it. I never want to see Daisy coming back either to Star Wars. That's a nightmare. I don't want to see it. I completely agree with you. Thank you for the comments. Me and Stephen are done. Bye bye. Bye-bye, son.